the secret is to now deploy campaigns that are conversion ones that are going to that warm audience. Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Rock Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Scott Boker, a serial entrepreneur on a mission to help you. This show is designed to teach you, to inspire you, to motivate you to take massive action and build a future-proof business. So, whether you're just starting out or taking your existing business to the next level, this is your home. Now, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's rock your brand. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast. This is episode 963. And today, well, I've got a really good, I don't even want to call it an interview. It is a conversation that I did with Aaron Jennings, who also was on the podcast probably just over 3 years ago now. And I will link that up in the show notes because we were discussing and strategizing back then on a business that he was running. And from there, what he's done with that business, we're going to catch up with on today. A new venture that he's exploring right now that he's working through. And really, our conversation today was all about how to create content, but also how to use Facebook ads to drive and grow the business. Now, I had no idea that it was going to go down this road, but that's kind of what happens when we do these coaching calls is we start to see where they're at currently, but then from there, what direction do we need to go in? And sometimes it leads us to a totally different area. And in this case, you're going to hear us talk about two different businesses. One that is somewhat brand new, another one that is fairly established, and he has been brought on to grow that brand. And you're going to hear how we strategized on what he can do immediately, and also how he is sitting on a gold mine in my eyes, and what he actually committed to me here publicly on the podcast. So Aaron, if you are listening to this back, you committed to me, man. And I am going to be following up with him to make sure that he follows through, because I truly believe that this could be something that can turn into a really incredible business, but more importantly, some passive income for him and his wife and his new baby girl who's on the way at the time of recording this. So guys, I can't wait for you to listen in on this. I always love doing these coaching calls. The one thing I want you to understand before even listening in on this conversation that I had with Aaron is I want you to realize that what you are doing while you are building your brand is you're building a skill set. All right, you're building a skill set that can be used now and well into the future. But the one big thing that you need to understand is there's a difference between learning and doing. Yes, we can learn, but it's where the application comes in is where the learning really happens. And so the things that we're talking about here today on this podcast with Aaron, he's going to be implementing this stuff. He's already started to implement some of this stuff. And the way that he's learning is by doing. So I just want to reiterate that. We only learn, truly learn from doing. So make sure you get out there and do something productive in your business so you can get a result, whether it's good or bad, so you learn from that experience. All right, guys, so sit back, relax, enjoy this interview, this coaching call I did with Aaron Jennings. Enjoy.
So the last time I saw you, me and my wife were running our beekeeping business, Jennings Apiaries, which still exists, but we had a couple of really poor production years.
Okay.
And one of the benefits of beekeeping is that honey never goes bad. So we were able to bank honey. If we had like a bumper crop year, we could bank honey and then use it the next year. I didn't anticipate having 2 years back to back where we had below what we had been doing production wise. Mm-hmm. And since it's not just something that I can order from China or something like that, I was really restricted by my supply.
Okay.
You know, at the same time, we had gotten into the Southwest region of Whole Foods. So we were in 50 Whole Foods. We were in about 60 other stores, including like a regional grocery. And I just wasn't able to keep up with the demand. It was just me and her. So we were doing everything. We were taking care of the bees, packing the product, labeling, shipping, selling, doing everything. And it became overwhelming. And so all that, we had to kind of step back from that and say, okay, so what are we up to? What are we really trying to achieve? It was one of those deals that on paper we were bringing in over 6 figures, but it was costing just about all of it to keep it going. So, and we were planning on starting a family at some point and everything. So we just wanted to kind of pull it back a little bit. So pulled all that back. And so Jennings Apiaries, like I said, still exists, but it's very local, and we're just really selling direct to a couple of stores and then consumers, mostly in the area, since honey is kind of more valuable the closer you are to it. The one product we had that we actually made for Amazon using the amazing seller is like, you really helped me get all that together and figure out how do we create a product just for Amazon. So the one product that we did for that, our co-packer actually went under. And whenever they went under, we weren't able to find another local co-packer that could work with us and keep the margins where we could actually make something. So that was the spicy honey cider. It was like an apple cider vinegar, honey, and a bunch of herbs. And so had a lot of success on Amazon with it, but couldn't make the economics work after they went under. So and then most recently, I started working for Four Sisters Rice, which is a retail brand for Kennedy Rice, which is a large domestic producer of rice based in northern Louisiana. They've been in business since the mid-'60s, but they'd always dealt on the bulk side. So it was wholesale, mostly to like Kellogg's, big orders. And about, I think, December of 19, they started planning. They wanted to try to get into the retail side. And so they came up with the brand Four Sisters, because the company is owned by Four Sisters. Their dad was the one who started Kennedy Rice Mill, and then they were using that as their retail side. And they launched it in February of 2020. And then in March, as everybody's well aware, stuff went sideways. And there was a rice shortage, so they were able to rapidly get into a lot of stores. I think currently we're in about 3,500 stores.
Wow.
And part of that was there was a rice shortage, so we were able to meet that demand for Whole Foods, Kroger, Walmart, customers like that. And got that going. But the brand is still really young, and we're still trying to figure out the best way to approach the digital side of things. So, how do you sell rice on Amazon? It's not, looking at, using a couple of tools and trying to get like a general idea of what the volume is per month. You're looking at like $120,000 to $150,000 a month total. And so that's not really, and over half of those brands, Amazon's selling directly, or they are brands that are owned by Amazon through Whole Foods or things like that. So it's kind of difficult to compete with them whenever you're still trying to make something. So definitely one of the questions I would have for you is, you take a product like rice, which is heavy, so the shipping cost adds up, and the perceived value on the shelf is low. Like the price is pretty low. So whenever you tell somebody, hey, you can buy this bag of rice from us on Amazon, but it's $11 because we're covering the shipping to get it to you. We also have our cost of manufacturing, all that into it, and we're trying not to go upside down on it. How do you help? And to me, I think it has to go back to the brand. Like, why would people buy from us over some other big rice brand? We do organic rice, and we control it from farm to table, so we can track everything back to the farm, and we're working on a way of getting that onto the bag as well, so that people could track that back. And I'm trying to help with a lot of that stuff. And how do we advertise and help people find our product and also make the purchase.
Yeah.
And then the other problem that we've run into is, so you see the ad on Facebook, we're already in lots of locations. You could go to Walmart and find us. You can go to Kroger and find us. And so how can you track what you're doing digitally if that's having an impact physically? And that's something that we're kind of struggling with. So that's just some of the things that I've been thinking about and trying to help them work through. Whereas honey, I had a high value product and I didn't have a shelf life practically. So it was, it's easier to convince somebody to buy a $10 jar of honey and spend $5 on shipping than to buy an $11 2-pound bag of rice.
Yeah.
So those are just some of our things.
Yeah. Okay. There's quite a bit to unpack there. The one thing, first off, let me just kind of go back. Okay. So, and we won't talk on the honey thing right this second, but I do want to touch on that after. But so just kind of walk me through this. So was this company already existing and then you guys came on, you and your wife, that came on, and what role does your wife play? What role do you play? And are you like kind of a marketing guy now? Are you the guy that's handling the manufacturing? Like I'm trying, because they already kind of had a presence, it sounds like, or at least a footprint. And now what's your role? What is your job to help them with, I guess, is my first question.
Right. Yeah. So Lauren is actually, she started supervising a greenhouse for a university here. So she got her master's in horticultural therapy since we saw you. And so she's doing a lot of plant stuff. And you may have seen some flowers and things. She's been selling flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
So she's actually not directly helping. Of course, I ask her like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Sure.
And she gives me some feedback. Honestly, my role, I'm doing a lot of programming, so web development and everything for them.
Okay.
And because I had prior experience with Amazon and being in retail, I'm kind of helping out with that. Amazon is completely under my control. Like they put Amazon to me, said, here you go, do what you can.
Yep.
As far as the marketing, there are other people who are creating the content, who are posting content and things like that. This week, I started taking over the ad part of it.
Okay.
So they had some consultants that they were working with previously, trying to bring a little bit more in-house. The consultants were really focused on engagement, whereas I'm more concerned about conversion. I'm coming from a little bit of a leaner business model where at Jennings Apiaries, I had this much marketing budget. And if I couldn't get results from it, I had to drop it. And, so that's where I am. And then on the ad side, I'm trying to help them figure out who's the customer. How can we make content that is going to be more focused on that customer and kind of balance that brand awareness and growth with, we need to see some kind of returns, some kind of conversions. Like it'd be nice to have some sales. So,
okay. So, I mean, we can go deep into the ad stuff because I think that is an avenue to go. As far as the Amazon side of things, I mean, I'll just kind of touch on that. That right there is going to be probably a tough hill to climb. And the reason why is because just like you said, if someone's going to look for rice, unless they're looking for a specific type of rice, because they heard it from Dave Asprey from Bulletproof that said you need a certain type of rice, and then they go and they find your rice and you have Bulletproof in your description that, recommended by Dave Asprey, like if you went that direction, that's what you could do, right? Like you would then be the one that is looking for the jasmine rice, if that's what you call it, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, cause we were in that boat. I said to my wife, I'm like, white rice isn't actually bad. It's actually good if you get the right kind and you have to look for it. And so we started looking for it and the price points are different. And I'm just like, I just want you to tell me which one to buy. That's the right one. And I don't have to sift through. So I'm the guy that's like, oh, it's $10 a bag, $11 a bag. I'll buy it. because I just want the right one. And I know I'm not eating like, this massive thing of it every day. It's going to last me, but I'd also probably be the one that would say, hey, you know what? Send me 2 bags a month.
Right.
So I'd be on, whether it's on Amazon or if it's on your own website, I'd be on the subscribe and save type plan. So so the first thing I would say is if you don't have that in place, I would definitely consider putting in some type of recurring. So that way there, if you do the ads, now we have how much does it cost to acquire a customer? How long do they stay? They're worth $50. We spend 10, boom, golden, right? How much can we spend? So that's my thoughts on that. With the Amazon thing, it's, making it better images. Yeah. Will that have a little bit to do with it? Sure. If it looks more organic, if it has faces on it, if it makes it look like it's, like you said, farm to table, like all of that stuff. Yeah. As much as you can do of that, do it. It's probably going to help that small percentage of people that are looking for that, because like you said, out of everyone that's on there and all the sales that are on there, there's not that much. There's some, but there's not that much to where you're like, oh, we'll just grab a small percentage of the entire pie, but the entire pie isn't that big. So I don't know if I would focus a lot of my energy there. Mm-hmm. I think I would try to figure out the Facebook ad side, to be honest with you. And I'd go after the customer and the engagement side of things. Like, I'm a fan of the engagement side, but I'm also a fan of, once you get that engagement, we got to start hitting them with conversion ads. Right. So to build up that warm audience and then start showing your product because they've reacted or they've watched a video 25% or more. And that video was 4 minutes long of maybe a behind the scenes of the farm and how the rice is made and why this rice is better for you than this, that, and the other thing. And then they watch 25%. And then I hit them with an ad. Your ad cost is going to get reduced because you're going to be hitting the right people because they raised their hand by how much they viewed. Right. And so I'd focus a lot of energy there, because if you can control that part of it, I mean, you can send them to Amazon if you want to, but if you're going to probably do better if you just send them directly to your website and convert it through whatever you're using, Shopify, whatever. And then I would try to do follow-up with recurring, like save when you recur or get a 6-month subscription or whatever. That way your ad budget now can increase, because now we know the lifetime customer is 6 months. It's $100. We can spend $50 to acquire that customer. Right. So that's probably where I would lean the heaviest. And I would try to find the angle, like I kind of brought up, and there's probably other influencers out there that are talking about this certain type of rice. And then I would start going after their audiences. So I would go and target Dave Asprey, Bulletproof. That'd be my target. That'd be my interest. Biohackers, any of those people, that would be my target. And I would just start throwing out those ads, whether they're engagement, whether they're in conversion. I'd probably start with a conversion ad, and just say the best rice for bulletproof diets, best rice for keto, right? Best rice for whatever, like whatever, fill in the blank. And then just start doing some campaigns. And I would test these audiences very lean. I would probably do like 5 different audiences at maybe $3 a day, and just let the numbers kind of tell what it is. I mean, you got to let it run for 7 to 14 days before you're going to get data, because you're spending so small. $3 a day. It's going to take you a while to get enough impressions. But if you're converting there, on a small budget like that, then you're like, okay, let's dial up the ones that are converting. Let's kill the ones that aren't. And then you can test 5-6 audiences a week.
Yeah. That's awesome. What do you think about the changes coming in with iOS?
We're not worried about it. Yeah, we're not worried about it. No, okay. We're not really worried about it. And I'll tell you why. Because we're still getting some data. We're just not getting all of the conversion metrics. Although if you're using UTM variables, which Chris Schaefer would be the one to ask about this, but I do know that you're still able to track as long as you're using UTM in your links. So if you're using UTM in your links, then you're on, Google Analytics, you're going to be able to see those conversions come through, and you don't have to rely on Facebook anymore to give you those. Because Chris and I have had this conversation. They didn't have them 2 years ago anyway, Everybody started relying on them, but they didn't have them before. And now everybody's up in arms with it, but it's still, you can still look at your numbers as far as tracking goes. On the conversion side is going to be harder, but you can still target people that engage with an ad, right? You can still do all of that stuff. It's just a matter of how deep can you go with with that type of retargeting and things like that, but there's all different ways that you can do it. And I think that getting in that, when you're really scaling like large, it could be probably more of an issue. But for you and I, set up some basic campaigns, create some ad sets that are targeting audiences, keep them separate, $3 a day, boom, deploy it, see what happens. Like, you know what I mean? And then you're going to want that UTM variable link. And anybody that's listening, they're like, what's that? Don't worry about it. It's just a trackable link that you can use in Google. And if you were in doing Facebook ads, you would just learn that one aspect of it. It's not hard. And then basically you can see it in your analytics and go, okay, we had 20 people come to the page today and we've had 4 conversions. There you go. And you go from there. Sure, Facebook's going to still try to report it, but their numbers are all off with their purchases and their analytics on conversions right now, especially. So we don't look at that as far as our Facebook ad stuff goes. But I wouldn't get that too worried about it right now. I would just start deploying ads and start getting that data coming in.
Gotcha. So, and mostly, I mean, you're looking for data as far as who's clicking, where they're at, are they actually converting, those kind of things, right?
We're looking at that. And I mean, yes, you're in a market where you have a physical product, you want customers, but if you want to just build that warm audience, I mean, I'm sure right now, I'm assuming that you guys probably have some type of pixel installed on your website. So any visitor that comes to the website, you're building that audience in the background. We can retarget them warm. You can do a lookalike audience of those people, all of that fun stuff you can do. But the thing is what you really want to do is you need to put some things out there, imagery, titles, and see what works. You know what I mean? Like you and I can sit here and riff on it all day long, but it does come down to, and I've been learning more of this myself lately because I want to learn the side of Facebook, not learn it to do it necessarily, but to learn it to understand it. Because it doesn't have to be that complicated. And like right now, literally, that's exactly what we are doing. Like we're building little warm audiences, and then we can create 1%, 2%, 3% lookalike audiences of these people. These people that are similar to them, but then we're testing the ad copy, we're testing the creative, the images, the video, and really all we're looking at is like your click-through rate, right? If your click-through rate on your ad, typically, and this is like people throw all different numbers around, we're looking at 2 to 3% click-through all, like that's the number they'll click through all. And then link click, we want at least at 1%. And if we have those numbers, I mean, but we might not get that data that quick if we're only doing $3 a day, $5 a day on each ad set. It might take 7 to 10 days to get some real data. Because some people, what they'll do is they'll go, oh, it didn't work. I'm getting bad click-through rates, but they had 20 impressions, right? So that's what we're looking at right now. That's what I would recommend doing is just throw stuff out there and see what your market says, you know what I mean? And find those audiences and then just test, because once you get that, I would be looking at how do I get a customer? Because you have a product that you're selling, a hard product that you're selling. I mean, there's other things you could do too. And you know this because I've preached this for years. You could build a free lead magnet about the benefits of this type of rice and all of that stuff. Download the guide. They get the guide immediately on the thank you page. You upsell them, some rice. You know what I mean? Like immediately. If they don't do it, you have your email address. Now you do a follow-up campaign, deadline sequence. We then let them know we're going to have a promotion. They can buy one bag, get one free as a special promotion because we want to show you how awesome this rice is.
Yeah. So do you think then, is it better to try to keep the traffic on our site? Because I've been, to me, it seems like we either go try to push everybody to one or the other, not to both, not to Amazon and to the site, but pick one kind of thing. I was thinking Amazon because it's the big online shop. So you get a lot of exposure, which is not to say we can't do both. But for me, I guess it's more helpful to like pick one, hone in on it, see what we can get out of it. And then, start to adjust. So, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes. I mean, everyone loves Amazon because they're just this giant, right? And people are searching for it. But the people that are searching for it there, are they the people that are searching for your stuff, for that keyword? And if the keyword is just jasmine white rice, that doesn't mean that it's your ideal customer.
Right.
So I think personally, I'm not saying that like, if you wanted to like boost your rank or whatever, you could say, you could build your email list, obviously, and say, hey, we're doing a special, on Amazon this weekend, whatever it is, 20% off when you buy 3 bags or more or whatever like that. And then you push a whole bunch of people there just for that weekend. You concentrate it just on that weekend. But if you were telling me that people were searching for the rice that you have, but also you knew that they were not price shopping. They weren't the budget looking for, I want the cheapest white rice. They don't know about the benefits. They don't care about the benefits. They don't care farm to table. They don't care about any of that stuff. They just want the best price, because that's usually what they're doing on Amazon for the most part, unless they were led there like me. I'll give you an example. So there's a whole bunch of like they're electric yard tools like Ego. It's called Ego. What is it? Ego Pro or something like that. They have lawnmowers that are ran by a battery. You have the weed whacker, the edger, all that stuff. I went on Amazon to look for it, but I didn't find them through Amazon. I found them over on YouTube, right?
Right.
But then I went to Amazon, and now I'm looking, and the only place I can get it is from Ego, because that's who sells it. I'm not going to get it from anybody else. But if I was just looking for electric mowers, then I could look at 5-10 different ones out there. But I'm now bought into the Ego brand because they're like the pioneers of this. So I want to go with them. But I'm not going to Amazon to shop price, because I know I'm not going to get the best price on the Ego. It is what it is. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're driving traffic there to rank for all of these other keywords that you're competing with, I don't know if I would do that.
Yeah.
I would build my email list of potential customers and customers, because if you build the customer list bigger, guess what? Everything grows, because now we can run a promotion to our customers, right? Every one customer is like so much more qualified than someone searching on Amazon. And if you just focused on building that customer base and then getting them on a recurring, right? Game over. Now you don't have to keep looking for new sales that are being searched for on Amazon every day, right? That's just my thought right now for you, because you do have a recurring product. You run out. You got to get more. Got to get more, right? So, I mean, that's the holy grail. Like, it's almost like supplements in a sense, right? Or herbs, if you're selling herbs or whatever, or your honey was another perfect example, which on the honey thing, my wife, I'd have to go get it. She got this certain honey, and it's more pasty, right? It was like $30 for that, for this little tiny jar. And she bought it. It was like $35. And it was, I forget what it was, but she had read on it. It was something for indigestion and heartburn and stuff like that. It's supposed to really help with that. And you literally, I would put it in my tea too. I would take just a little teaspoon.
What was the taste like?
Really, really strong.
Yeah. Was it Manuka?
Might have been.
Just because Manuka is like the highest price point honey. You usually buy a tiny thing.
Yep, it's tiny in a little jar. I think it had a purplish label. And it was good, really, really good. But I said to my wife, this is like gold. Yeah, like this is literally like gold. But we bought it, because we're looking at it as far as it's a supplement in a sense. It wasn't just, I'm going to buy some honey to, any kind of old honey, right? I'm looking for the good stuff. So I'm willing to pay a high price for it. Same thing goes with your rice, right? You have to find out what is the differentiator and what market out there, what niche is looking for this rice, right? To me, immediately would be someone like, and I would find more people like this, like an influencer like Dave Asprey with Bulletproof. Because he says it clearly in his, because that's how I learned of it. He says it specifically in the Bulletproof diet and I don't follow the Bulletproof diet to a T. I do have high fats and all of that stuff, but he says in there, white rice is technically better than brown rice. Like, that's what he says. And he gives the reasoning and the science behind it and all of that stuff. So I'm like, hey, Lise, we got to get some white rice, this special jasmine stuff that he said. And so we go looking for it, you know? So you have to find out who else is mentioning that it's kind of like if Dr. Oz says it, right? Everybody's going to want to buy it. So you need to find those people or those interests, and then those are your targets. And then you put out your stuff, and then it resonates with that one person. That's the only one you read this. If you want the purest rice and falls within the bulletproof diet plan, right? Just call it out in the copy. That way it speaks to me and it doesn't speak to other people. I don't care about that, right? It's kind of what they call, kind of like dog whistle copy. It's kind of like it only calls out to the ones that are like, oh yeah, that's me, right? So read this if right? And that's your title, very, very simple.
Totally.
So I would go down that road.
Yeah. And then you would reach out to maybe like a Dave Asprey, like find a couple influencers, reach out to them and see what kind of arrangement you could come to.
Well, I would do that, but even without doing that, I'd go into Facebook, I'd go into the interest, and I would type in Dave Asprey, and I would target him.
Gotcha.
I would target everybody that
likes him, and
100%.
Gotcha.
Yep. And basically, I'm gonna while we're on here real quick, because I have my ad manager up. I'm gonna jump into targeting real quick, and I want to see real quick on Dave Asprey. Let me see if I can get out of here now. People are listening. They're like, what the heck are you doing, Scott? But I'm doing this on the fly because I'm interested to see targeting wise, like what that would look like. Let me get out of there real quick. And all I'm doing is I'm just going into an old ad set, and I'm going to dig in and see what that looks like. So let me go in and see. So if I went into, let's see here. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put in Dave A, and it should populate. Yep, Dave Asprey. Interest comes right up, and it says that audience right now, potential reach is 160 million people.
Wow. Yeah, that's a bunch.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of people. And literally that's all I would do. I just do that. I'd do that one. Then I would put in their bulletproof diet. That'd probably be another one that I would do. So let me see here. If I just X out of him and I go bulletproof coffee, that would be the one. That audience size is smaller. It's about 82,570. So not as much. I mean, heck, then you can just even go, like I said, if you go keto and then start going down that road. There's other ones too. Something green. What's that guy's name? His first name. I forget his name. Chris knows him. But there's a bunch of people in the biohacking kind of world that might fall into white rice. I don't know. I'd find other people that are saying white rice is a health benefit and it's for diets and it's okay to eat it. I'd be going after those, those type of audiences and interests. That's it.
Yeah.
And just put that content in front of those people. You know what I mean? And your content could be images, could be videos. I would mix it up. I would do both. I would do video and I would do images.
Gotcha. So currently we've got the best performing thing we've done is kind of a story video that goes through and kind of says, shows the four sisters. They're out in the rice fields. They're happy,
Yep.
A little bit about the history and everything. That's been the best performing one as far as watch time, click through, and everything. It just hasn't really converted anything.
Okay. So are you running that as an engagement video for views, or are you using that as a conversion, as a purchase?
Yeah. So I think initially everything that the previous people were doing was engagement.
Okay.
So you would just run that same thing, but swap it for conversion as the intent behind it. Correct?
Yeah, you could, or now that you have all that engagement, why don't you just go in, create a custom audience and say, I want to create a custom audience of people that have watched 25% or more of this video. And now you create a conversion ad that doesn't go through the whole story thing again, but it says, hey, grab a bag of rice for whatever, like a discount or whatever. And then that would be a direct conversion ad, but only to people that watched at least 25% or more.
Gotcha. No, that totally makes sense.
I wouldn't stop running that. If that's your best converting ad, meaning not converting, but your best engaging ad, I'd keep it. I'd let it run. Like, that's building your warm audience, right? The secret is to now deploy campaigns that are conversion ones that are going to that warm audience.
Gotcha.
Right. So it's kind of like two different levels. You have engagement, which is great because it's getting people to raise their hand by how much they view the video. And then the next part comes in. And it could even be another semi-educational video. Be like, hey, I don't know about you, I love rice, but I know that there could be a lot of chemicals in it, or it can be, have a terrible shelf life, whatever the negatives are for it. Here at Four Sisters, we are very, very adamant about making sure that we can get it from farm to table. And here's what I want to do. Because I want you to see how amazing this rice is, I would love to give you a special discount on your first bag. All you need to do is click the link below. You'll get, instantly added to your cart, and you'll get free shipping or something like that. Like, that's it. Like, you can help them, but then also put a pitch in there.
Right.
And
totally.
And then,
are you still using Convertkit as your email?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Convertkit we are using, and it's actually gotten even more robust over the years. And there's just a lot you can do with it. Again, you don't have to get down that line, but you could even do some abandoned cart stuff too within it. So if what you would do there then is, if someone clicked on the link and they went to that page and they wanted it, of course, you're probably going to do a two-step. So the first step would be put your name and email in. That's step one. And then the second one would be like, all right, where do you want us to ship it? And here's your credit card information. If they fill out step one, but they don't fill out step two, then we would then run a abandoned cart, sequence that says, hey, I noticed that you were interested in our white rice special. Life gets in the way, or, hey, maybe you were in the shopping line and you had to put it down your phone, whatever. Here's the link again, just in case you needed it. If you have any questions about it, let us know. We can't wait for you to try our rice. Like, boom. And then you just, you kind of follow them through the abandoned cart sequence and give them a deadline sequence in there. Yeah. So a lot really you can do with all of that stuff.
Yeah. Do you know, is there a good way? Do you know of a better way to try to see how digital is impacting physical? So one of the problems that I've noticed. Well, and so something I've noticed, even like getting location information from Google or things like that. Like my cell phone, for example, it says I'm in Texas. I'm in Louisiana, but it's picking me up like I'm coming out of Dallas because that's where my phone is routing through.
Yep.
So it's kind of skewing that information. So do you have any insights?
Yeah. I mean, and I think also with what are you saying though, like, how's it impacting your local retail?
Well, or, we're stores coast to coast. So how is it impacting retail? Like, do you have any tricks or tips for tracking that?
That's a really tough one, because I mean, someone that just goes into the store, sees it on there and buys it, or someone that's seen an ad, goes in and buys it. Like, how are they really going to be able to tell you that? You know what I mean? Yes, you could say, well, if this person has the phone, could we take them from, there. And again, with iOS, that would be a lot harder, because now you are trying to track someone personally within their phone. So that I could see as being really, really tricky. And I'm not sure that I would focus on that, because that is going to be hard to track. I would focus on what is trackable, which is seen my ad, clicked on it, went over to my page, bought or didn't buy. Right. And then I follow up. Did they buy after the follow-up? No. Okay. Then I follow up again with another sequence, or maybe some useful content or whatever. That we can track all day long. The other stuff is going to be like really, really hard, I think. And I'm not sure that I would focus on that. I would think I would focus more on, like, because then you can say, hey, here's your retail is this. And yes, you might have driven some of that traffic over to that, maybe some. I think it's going to be a small percentage. I think if people already are buying online, they're going to repeat to buy online. People that are buying in stores are going to continue to buy in stores, unless they ran out and they want to run over to Earth Fare and they want to buy some bulletproof coffee. I don't buy it through Earth Fare, but if I ran out and I couldn't get it on Amazon in a day and a half, I'd probably run to Earth Fare and grab a quick bag, right? But I'm usually always just going to buy it right where I started buying it, which is online, because it's easier for me. So I'm not quite sure that I would worry about that. I think you got other things that you could be focusing on, which is, I think, getting those Facebook ads to convert.
Yeah.
I think that's a bigger opportunity for you.
Definitely. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Trying to think.
Now, so let me go back to, I don't know if the last time when we met, when we were going over your bee stuff, and I know you're not doing that right now, but man, I was looking at that niche for someone else, or maybe it was just one of our niche examples. And there's a huge amount of opportunity for teaching people how to do the beekeeping.
Yes.
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive. Why didn't you ever explore that? Why didn't you go down that road?
I did a lot of local teaching, some local classes and everything. Because, one of the things I didn't want to do is just write another beginning beekeeping book that is pretty much, there's a ton of them, and they pretty much have the same information. Maybe it's presented a little prettier or targeted to, like bringing women into beekeeping or something like that a little bit more.
Okay.
And then honestly, the business side of it kept me so busy that I had no time for anything. Now that I've kind of stepped back, I'm actually working on a project. It's funny that you say that, because I'm working on a project. So in the 19th, this is going to be totally like maybe deep or something, but in the 19th century, there was a huge influx of interest in beekeeping, kind of like what we've seen the past 10, 15 years. And so there's a lot of really good books written in the 19th century about beekeeping. But instead of being step 1, step 2, step 3, it was very conversational. It was very almost philosophical, and talking about like more of instead of giving like, you do this, you do this, you do this. Mm-hmm. I think it's more important to understand why you're doing the things that you're doing.
Okay.
And there's no question of, well, do I do this or do I do that? You let what is in front of you kind of dictate that. And so I'm kind of working on a website project. It'll be begoodstewards.com.
Okay.
Which is it kind of plays into my philosophy of beekeeping. And it'll be kind of a digital book. And then I want to turn that into a print book eventually, just because I have a lifelong ambition to author a book and have like, I know I'll sell at least one, maybe two. My mom will probably buy one too, but now I have a little bit more time to work on that. So this coming beekeeping season, which is going to start here in the next month or so, I'm going to be documenting the process and kind of writing that out. And instead of because it's so different from location to location, I want to talk more about principles and theory and philosophy behind what you're doing, instead of you go on May 15th, you do this, on May 20th, you do that, like very specific things that aren't always applicable.
Got it.
So I've definitely seen that area, and I've been fortunate to meet a lot of beekeeping authors and people who had a big influence on me. So I'm going to try to pull them in a little bit too, kind of talk about their areas of expertise. And so there's more coming. It is coming. There's definitely, I just had to find the time, the energy, and have my voice. I want it to be authentic. I don't want it to just be to push something out. I want it to actually be reflective of my experience with beekeeping, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the only reason why I asked that is because, when I met you and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the guy, like he's the beekeeping guy. Like I'm looking at this guy, he's got the beard. I mean, you got the whole look, you're it. And I'm like, you could crush it. And then when I started exploring for that other, I think it was like a niche case study or whatever, I was trying to just kind of come up with like niche drill downs to do. And I'm like, beekeeping, I'll do that when I know that that's a market, because, someone I know has done it.
Yeah.
I looked into it and I'm like, holy crap, like this is amazing. Like it's just a ton of traffic, a ton of content. And so then my question was, okay, you were running your bee, your honey business, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing that as a business to make money, but also because you enjoy it.
Yep.
So I'm like, well, if you bolt on the content side of things, now you're able to then it wouldn't matter if there's any honey in stock, because then you can just live off the content, right? And then you're doing this now. So then I'm like, okay, Aaron, like, why are you doing this again? Now you're the marketing guy or you're the website guy. So why are you doing that? You got to pay the bills. I get it. But if you got to pay the bills, why not focus on this over here where the content side of things could be bringing, like if you had the traffic that this site was getting that I was looking at, you'd be making probably like $5,000 to $8,000 a month just on ads running on the site. Right. And I'm like, I don't know. What am I not seeing here? So I'm like, help me, Aaron, help me understand.
Totally. I got I started keeping bees, and I had 5 seasons in a row where every year our business was doubling.
Okay.
And it was growing. We're getting in more places. We're doing great. The weather was playing really nicely. And I saw this projection. It was just going to keep going like this, and man, we were going to make it. Mm-hmm. The 2 years that were really hard on us weather-wise, which was totally out of my control. I made some mistakes too, but a lot of it was weather.
Okay.
It was very discouraging. I got very discouraged. I went from thinking that I was like the beekeeping master to where I was like the beekeeping short bus. It was not, I wasn't, I felt very discouraged. And at the same time, we were trying to talk about having a family, talk about buying a house. Mm-hmm. And so I started, just to kind of throw in some more weird stuff that's not related that I've done, I've been a massage therapist for about 16 years.
Oh, wow.
And that's been kind of the fallback for me, is I can always do massage. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got into beekeeping, was making skincare for my massage therapy clients. And that was kind of what led to beekeeping. And then I got out of it, got into that. And so I went back to massage, and through that, I actually met the HR person at this company and found out about this job, and kind of threw it out there on a whim. I didn't think they were going to hire me, because I don't have a lot of on paper credentials for what they were doing.
Yeah.
But I think they liked me. And so they brought me on. And so it's given me some security.
Got it.
Which has helped my wife feel better as she's pregnant and everything.
Oh yeah.
But and again, it kind of freed up some of that creative energy around beekeeping. I should have hired people, but I was afraid to hire people. I was afraid to bring people in and them be relying on me to pay their electric bill on the beekeeping side. And because I didn't bring in people, the work I couldn't do everything. I was running about 220 beehives.
Wow.
And I was doing everything. I was delivering to Whole Foods. I was shipping to Amazon. I was packing it, labeling it. So we had several nights where we were up, 11 p.m. to get stuff ready for a 6 a.m. delivery.
Wow.
And I got burned out. I really did. I just got burned out.
Yeah. No, it's totally understandable, man. I mean, when you're doing physical product, that's one thing in itself, right? It's like hard goods. And that's why, part of me on someone like you that's got all that knowledge, I'm like, man, if you could just leverage the digital side of it, that runs a lot smoother, a lot easier, and you don't have to rely on that inventory. And you're not even like getting it from China. Like, you're creating the hard goods, right? You're creating the honey, and there's a lot that goes in. Then you're, packaging it and bottling it and doing all that stuff and then delivering it. That is a lot of work. And that's why I'm always looking at that side of it. I'm like, man, and I always tell people, I'm like, like for a total example of this would be something for you, like, and not that you would do this, but if someone came to you and they're like, I'm doing a website on beekeeping, and I'm interviewing experts, and I want to basically interview you for an hour. I'll pay you $300 if you sit down with me. And then they would just come up and ask you a bunch of questions. And that would be one set of pieces of content that they would publish that are going to get traffic to their website about beekeeping. Right. And so the same thing, I just look at that, like, so many people have so much knowledge up here, but they don't know how to extract it and get it out there. But once you get it out there and you start getting that traffic coming in and the money that follows, you're like, wow, this is pretty cool, right? Like, got product happening that I don't have to sell because it's basically being fulfilled digitally, or even, you're fulfilling it through other channels, not just physical channels, or content's being delivered and you're getting paid by an ad network because you're getting impressions. It just, that right there in itself is just, it's freedom, to not have to be labeling and beekeeping and doing all that stuff, but you could document yourself doing the beekeeping one season, and then that becomes content that lives on for years. That doesn't really change, right? I mean, some devices change or some techniques might change, but the basic concept of beekeeping is going to pretty much stay the same.
Yeah. The bees are still just bees. They're doing their thing. But it's funny, when we got into Whole Foods, that was really whenever our brand blew up, because people were like, "Oh, you're in Whole Foods. That's real." Yeah. And that was super cool. I think on the content production side for me, and this could just be like excuses that I'm making for myself. Yeah. If I had a book, it would be a lot easier to say, I'm an expert, I have the information, but I need some kind of way to prove it to other people, to validate it to them. So that's kind of my thinking with this stuff, with this year, coming up with this website, and then taking the content that I generate, editing it down into like a hard book. I'd like to have a book launch, maybe December, January of next year, because beekeepers are getting geared up for the next season right now. So if I could have a book launch, that would be like the best time to put a new book out. And then from there, I've spoken at state conferences and lots of small clubs and things like that. And I get a lot of good responses because I'm not super conventional in my beekeeping methods. But I think I have good data to kind of back up my approach and everything. So it is something that I want to do. I needed a little bit of financial security for. I get it, man. For everything. I get it. Yeah. But I would love to see you, even if you were to, and I just went through this with, it was actually a review that came in from iTunes. Her name's Dawn LaFontaine, and she was on the 5-minute pitch, which was the little Shark Tank kind of show that we did, for, basically businesses. And she actually pitched us, and the name of her business is Cat in a Box. Basically, she makes like these organic, natural, no, dyes in the paints and stuff like that for cats. Makes a little cheddar cheese, little box. And this, another one is just, I think the other one's like a milk carton or like whatever, right? So she makes all these fun little things, and she's creating the product, and she had some bumps in the road with that. But I'm like, you really got to create content for cat people. Like, they want to know certain things about, like, can I use, whatever, or I know the ones she did. Can you bathe a cat? Like, just a simple question like that. I'm like, you need to write content that answers those questions, because those people have cats and they might want to buy your box. Right. Yeah. And so she's like, yeah. Okay. Had her on the podcast 12 months ago, just over 12 months ago. She went from getting about 30 visits to her website a day to now she's getting between 1,500 and 1,600 a day. Wow. Okay. All because she said, Scott, I'm going to go ahead and create that content that I think that, everybody knows, or, why am I going to write that? And she goes, I'm going to write one post a week and post it, and I'll see what happens. I'll give it 12 months. And here she is, 52 pieces of content. She's got, I think last month she had over 35,000 people come to her website last month alone. And it's growing. If you look at it in Uber Suggest, it's like, it's hockey sticking, right? And that's what happens. So my advice would be, take just one thing that a wannabe beekeeper would be asking that question. Do a little bit of research, and then write one piece of content a week. Like, that's it. And just post it, and then let it go. And then next week I got one more to do. It's kind of like you're in school for a year, but you only got to create one piece of content every single week and publish it, and see what happens by next year. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, you can still do it not being the expert. You don't need to wait for your book to be done because you're not an expert. Dude, man, you're an expert. All right. Like, you know more about beekeeping than most people will ever know.
right? And you've done it numerous times, but just because you don't have credentials, you've spoken at events. I mean, that's credibility right there in itself, right? So I'd get that out of your head. But
Cool.
dude, if I was you, I would be creating at least one piece of content just to say, I'm going to do that because I want to see if I can get some free traffic over to a website about beekeeping, right?
Definitely. And you know what? Here's what I'll do. So I've got my little list of things I was writing down during our talk and everything.
Yeah.
I'm adding it. Give me after work today.
Okay.
I will totally put up the first part of the website.
Okay.
So
I like it. I like it. All right, and we're going to track back now. Now we're going to have some accountability playing here. So now we're going to track. We're going to track back. I'm going to stay in touch with you, and I'm going to actually also I'm going to forward you over some of these websites that I found, and you can use them as inspiration. You can look at it and go, oh wow, like I actually know more than that. You know what I mean? Like it'll literally make you go, oh my gosh, like really? Like I said, like the one post that she did, like can you bathe a cat? It's getting like 5,000 people to her website a month. I'm like, who would have known? It's one simple question, you know? So yeah, definitely do it, man. I
will.
I know you got a lot on your plate, but to have and think about this. What if you did that, just that? Let's say you did that, it got traffic. And let's just say you turned on an ad network like Mediavine. And let's say you're making $1,000 a month. Like $1,000 a month on just ads, and it's passive. It's just sitting there and it's creating, it's cranking, and all you're doing is feeding it one piece of content a week, and it's producing $1,000. If you want to get rid of that site, someone will happily buy that for probably 50 grand.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know about you, but that's a nice piece of real estate.
No, totally.
That all you got to do is, all you got to do is create a piece of content, post it, and walk away, and then say, hey, I did my job for that week, and now I'll let the Google gods out there hopefully give me some love. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
So begoodstewards.com. Today I will have something up.
I love it. All right, man. Is that it? Are we good? Did we accomplish everything that we were supposed to accomplish today?
Yes. And I really appreciate it. That gave me some actionable items. So like awesome. I'm going to immediately turn around and start doing this. And I'm going to have to comb through a little bit. They've been running ads since September. So I'm still trying to digest the information that they had gathered. But no, I really appreciate it. It's always helpful to have somebody to kind of bounce this stuff off of.
Absolutely.
So
And if there's any questions on any of your Facebook ad stuff too, in the future, by all means, reach out, whatever. And if, obviously, I'm not an expert at that at all. I know enough to kind of be dangerous, I guess you would say, but not too bad, not too dangerous. Chris Schaefer would be the one that would be a little bit more dangerous, and we can get you in touch with him. But the biggest thing I would say with whatever they have is comb through it. And sometimes it's better to just kind of start with a clean slate, and you just deploy your test campaigns, get your own data, and obviously use the custom audiences that they've already created for you and the engagement and stuff. Like, why not? We'd be silly not to use that. But a lot of times it's like, you just got to almost like reboot, reset, and restart. And then you've got your own kind of metrics, but just use the warm audiences that they've built or the engagement. And that's where I would start. And I think you'll do great. I think you'll do great. Cool, man. Well, hey, good luck with everything. And let's stay in touch. I am going to stay in touch with you because I'm going to be nudging you about your beekeeping stuff. Cause man, I love that market. I think it's great. And I think there's definitely a need for it. And especially, when all these different seasons come with, allergies and all of this stuff, like people are told they should have more local honey and all of this stuff. Like there's a whole bunch that you could create content on. So man, it's always good to catch up. Congratulations too on the new baby on the way. And can't wait to see your beautiful little girl. And I'm sure we'll see pictures, and tell your wife I said hello. And let's stay in touch, man.
Yeah, please. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. All right, man. Get out there, make it happen.
Will do.
All right. So that's going to wrap it up. That went a little bit longer. Usually happens whenever I get on these coaching calls, because I just get excited and I just start digging into different areas of the business. And you could really hear how he really is excited about the one venture that he's working on. He's really excited about that. But when I brought that up about doing the content site for his bee business and not having to be reliant on the honey that he was producing, He got really excited about that too. Now he can do this, and you can do this even if you have a full-time job, even if you are already doing something else. If you just commit to doing one piece of content per week for 52 weeks, you're going to learn, you're going to get results, whether it's 10 people to your website a day or not. But more importantly, you are going to learn the process for how to find topics that you can write about or produce content around in your brand. And from there, you will know exactly how to create content. And that's a big one. That's a skill set that you're going to be learning by doing. If you want help with this, then I would definitely encourage you to go to brandcreatorsbook.com. Okay? Brandcreatorsbook.com will allow you to get access to our Brand Creators Playbook, which is really everything that we teach inside of Brand Creators Academy too, by the way. All of our Academy members go through the playbook. But what it does is it breaks it down in bite-sized pieces so you understand truly what it takes to build a brand and also the skills that you'll need to learn and understand along the way. So again, brandcreatorsbook.com, check it out, and you can get all the details there. All right, guys, so that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, remember, I'm here for you. I believe in you, and I am rooting for you. But you have to, come on, say it with me, say it loud, say it proud, take action. Have an awesome, amazing day, and I'll see you right back here on the next episode. Now let's rock your brand.